Hey guys and girls, thank you for tuning in. I have Andrew Bond on the line, and we're going to dive straight into some questions we had from the audience. And yeah, a couple of interesting ones. One of them is relating to basically genetics and how much of a difference it makes in terms of, certain people are born with a particular body type. For example, Andrew and I both born as what they call ectomorphs. So we've both been, we were skinny teens, and it took us a while to build muscle. We're hard gainers. It took us a while to get to where we're at in terms of muscle gains. So it was a long project for us. Whereas other people are known as endomorphs, and they're generally bigger. They find it harder to lose body fat. But what I find is generally a lot of people who are endomorphs generally tend to build muscle a bit faster. So yeah, there's pros and cons to both really. But the question was from a guy on Instagram called Isaac Tuha, at Isaac Tuha. And I'll read it out quickly. It was, "Hey Martin, I'm interested in metabolism, specifically revolving around teenagers and younger kids. My brother has always been the tall, skinny kid, where I have always been the chunkier brother. And I've had to watch my food intake since I was 13. We basically eat similar foods as it's been whatever our mums cooked, which has been healthy. We have 2 years age difference. Also, the ectomorph, endomorph, and mesomorph body types, are they a myth, or do they actually play a role in body fat percentage and muscle mass?" So mesomorph, folks, is someone who generally builds muscle. So it's more of a muscular kind of athletic physique. But I don't really believe anyone's born a mesomorph. I think they're like Andrew and I are probably ectomeso. We're skinny, but we can. I don't really know if even mesomorph is a type, to be honest. But anyway, he said how much of a role of genetics play in fitness goals, and are body types a myth, or do they play a part in muscle gain or fat loss? Now, as I said, we've always been as a kids, as teenagers and kids. Andrew and I are both always quite skinny, right? So, as I say, it took us a while to build muscle, and it was a long project. However, you know, I think there's so many different factors that play a part in this as well. So he was saying about, they both eating similar foods and stuff, and there's only 2 years apart, and one of the brothers is naturally bigger, and one is naturally skinnier. Now I've seen this a lot in siblings. I've started to notice it a lot. For example, my girlfriend, she can just look at a dumbbell and build muscle, but she finds it harder to lose body fat. Whereas her sister is genetically really slender. They're completely different body types. So obviously genetics do play a big part in massive part. And in fact, I looked at some studies, and basically, in terms of heritability, right? So the estimates can range for about 30 to 80%, right, for muscle strength in terms of your genetics. So skeletal muscle is a highly heritable trait, right? So that's quite a big margin. So 30 to 80% of your lean mass, of your strength it can be based on genetics. Whereas 50 to 80% of your genetics are going to determine how much muscle you can gain. So based on those stats, obviously genetics play a huge part in it. But yeah, how have you found that, Andrew, over the years, and what you've learned with clients and stuff in terms of different body types? Do you have anything to say about this, mate? Mm. Not anymore. No, they're like in their early 20s, I believe. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, they're around as far. I think one is a little bit shorter, but I don't think there's much in it with height. I didn't actually ask him that, but yeah, he said basically he's always, even since like the age of 13, they've always eaten very similar. They've always played sports and done similar things activity wise, but he's always had to watch. I kind of got it wrong earlier. Sorry, they didn't eat the same. He's had to be more cautious about what he eats and stuff, even from the age of 13. So absolutely, yeah. I think they played rugby and I think they played a few sports. You know, what it's like here in Australia. So yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course, yeah. Exactly. When you add it all up, it's true, innit? Because there could be these. Yeah, that's right. Because it could be like subtle changes where someone's doing like let's just say one of them was averaging an extra 5,000 steps a day for whatever reason that was. He was moving an extra 30 minutes to an hour a day. If you look at the compound effect of that, it can have a massive effect. But at the same time, like we don't claim to be doctors or scientists, and we're not gonna say we know everything about genetics because it's very complicated. With human metabolism, it's so complicated. However, as I was saying earlier, there's so many different things which can happen from one sibling to the next. In terms of the body type, I've observed it a lot, and I've seen brothers and sisters who have got completely different genetic shapes, and there's only a few years apart. They got the same mum and dad, obviously, so there can be so many changes genetically because they're finding out a lot now about like epigenetics, which is where your genes we have like about 19 to 20,000 different like protein coding genes, right? So essentially you've got about 19 to 20,000 different genetic blueprints, and all those genes respond differently. Like you have a certain amount of muscle building genes, you have a certain amount of genes which help you lose fat, you have all these, and you have like all different genes which are going to help with immune system function and turning certain things on and off within your immune system. This is so complicated, but what they found is that you can with epigenetics is basically when your genes can switch on and off based on the environment. So what they're finding is, yeah, so like for example, their mum and dads, like within that 2 years apart, they would have experienced different things within their life, which means the environment or wherever their lifestyle was within that 2 years, certain genes could have switched on and off, and that could then change the DNA of the child. Right now, again, I don't want to sound like a scientist, but there can be a lot of difference from person to person. But as Andrew was saying, there could also be a huge difference in lifestyle stress. I didn't ask the guy what their upbringing was like. Like they could have had certain levels of stress and whatnot, which could cause different changes within the body, right? And so, absolutely, mm, yeah, definitely, mm, mm, absolutely. Definitely, mate. And I wanted to say about that as well. Let's just talk about that real quick. Because it's actually crazy how much has changed from one generation to the next. If you look at when we were kids, Andrew, as you said then, like I was outside all the time playing sports non-stop. Yes, I did like computer games, right? So I did like to play on my Mega Drive and then my PlayStation and stuff like that, but I wasn't, and I did go through a phase where I was kind of getting addicted to certain games. But nowadays, kids are addicted to playing on their tablet or their phone or their laptop or whatever game it is with or whatever app they want to play on, and playing against their mates on different, like, I don't know, Call of Duty, like that's a big one, isn't it? Like the war games. And you can't, like my nephew, for example, even since the age of like 3 or 4, my sisters had to struggle to pull him away from his tablet and get him outside. You know what I mean? Like you have to. It's like you said then. It's quite a worrying prospect, really. But yeah, I reckon we can just sum this up really, and we can relate. We can kind of identify the experiences we've had with clients. Because he did say, is body types a myth, or do they actually play a role in fat percentage? Losing fat and building muscle. And to answer that question, yeah, they play a huge part really, because like I said, like I have certain clients I'll train, and we talked a lot before about increasing your daily steps and focusing on lifting weights, to lose body fat, and then obviously just trying to eat right most of the time. But for some people who find it hard to lose body fat, so if that's you listening now, and you have a real hard time losing body fat, firstly there could be lots of different aspects which are playing a part in that. But I find those kind of people have to sometimes schedule cardio in. I have to actually say, right, okay, you have to allocate 30 to 45 minutes of walking every day. Or if they enjoy something else like the elliptical and they want to do that, that's fine. I'll normally keep a low intensity, but I'll say to that body type, so let's just say that's the endomorph body type, who's genetically, they carry more body fat genetically and find it hard to lose fat. I will say, right, you have to allocate and schedule that cardio in, as opposed to just saying, right, okay, you need to hit 12,000 steps. I'll get them to schedule that cardio in one way or another. And I find they do lose body fat a bit faster then. So, and then with the people who find it harder to build muscle, the ectomorphs, I have to really hone in on, are they eating enough calories? Are they in a calorie surplus? Are they getting enough food in? Because I find for those people, they could skip a meal, and they're in a huge calorie deficit just by having what the best way to describe it is, they could have a week where they're not quite eating enough, and they will plateau and not build muscle. Not necessarily lose a significant amount of muscle, but they will plateau much quicker when it comes to building muscle if they have that skinny or ectomorph, body type. Absolutely. Mm. It's a trade-off. No, no. I was going to take the hit then. I thought it's okay. I'll take it from you. Not at the moment. I've got 8, I think. Yeah, but I can get 10. Yeah, exactly. Which is a genetic. Exactly, and that kind of bleeds into the next question because if you're making those fundamental changes we always talk about, and if you're, even if you're lifting weights and you're doing it properly, right? You're doing lifting weights properly, and you're treating each exercise as a skill, right? As a practice, rather than going into the gym and trying to sweat and falling into that camp where it's no days off and I've got to train hard every day and I've got to push myself in the gym and looking at exercise and training as work as opposed to going in there and focusing on. You could get away with doing literally 2 training sessions a week and get insane results. I train people, and I'm sure Andrew does as well. I train a lot of my clients actually do 2 sessions a week, 1 or 2 sessions a week. And the ones who do the 2 sessions a week, I get them significant results when they look at the long game and they focus on making those small incremental changes and they're willing to change their behaviors and make these subtle changes as we always talk about. They get insane results down the line. And just as Sal Di Stefano said in one of my recent podcast episodes, he what's that? Sal Di Stefano. It might be Stefano. Maybe it's Stefano. It's Sal Di Stefano. Nah, I've seen it. I can't remember that part though. Exactly. Well, anyway, so I was talking to a Sal Di Stefano, and he was talking about making. He was talking about making. He says one thing he says is if you can improve yourself a little bit, a tiny bit every day, that will lead to massive changes down the line. Okay, so this is bleeding into the next thing I wanted to talk about, which was, as we talked about, I asked Sal this question on the episode. And folks, if you haven't listened to it, I think it's 2 episodes back, might be episode 56, I think it is, maybe 55. Check it out. It's an amazing episode. He covers everything. And it's about doing fitness the right way instead of the fast way. Okay, because as I was saying then, if you can focus on those fundamental things, lifting weights even twice a week, for example, is going to get you insane results. So instead of, like Andrew was saying then, online, you'll get all of these different companies or even, sorry, let's just talk about the Insta famous models playing into your insecurities. Let's look at the female fitness model with 5 million followers, and what they do is they I was going to say they're quite smart, but not really. What they do is they just play on your insecurities. So they'll say, right, okay, this is what's going to work for females, for example. This program where they're using bands and they're doing all this fancy stuff in the gym, and this is going to work for you as a female, right? Because they're playing into your hands with that, right? Rather than just, okay, this is what these exercises, if you do them properly, they work for everyone. It doesn't matter if you're male or female. If you're squatting properly, you're doing deadlift properly, you're focusing on those movements and you're doing it consistently a few times a week, doesn't matter whether you're male or female, the results are going to blow you away. So just bear that in mind. And how do you play it with clients, and when it comes to them changing their behaviors and getting those long-term results? Hmm. Exactly. Mm. No, definitely. Definitely. I was going to say then as well, yeah, because I'm glad you said that. Because one of the reasons we're here on this podcast preaching about the stuff we preach about is because we failed a lot of people, right? We didn't get to where we are as trainers over however long we've been doing this. You know, I've been doing this for like 12 years now, from getting it right every time. It's just like anything in life you do, right? You're gonna fail. You're gonna get things wrong, and you're gonna learn from it, and then you're gonna apply something different, and then you might get that wrong, and then you're gonna learn from it, and then you're gonna, you know what I mean? This is fitness and health and sustainable health and building a good looking body. As we've explained before, you know, you really can't cut corners. It's just one of those things where you just gotta enjoy the process. But yeah, as I was saying, we that was our approach before. It was like, okay, I have the answer for you. I've got the answer for you. Do this, do this, do this, do this. So as Andrew said, then we would inundate them with several different habits we'd like them to change. For example, changing anything with food, with what you're eating, is a massive, massive thing to change and sustain. Even if you change one thing. Let's just say, for example, you're listening to this, right, and you like chocolate, right? Imagine I said to you, you want to get in shape, right? You come to me, you want to lose body fat, you want to look better, and you want to feel better. You want to build your confidence, whatever it is, right? That's normally the case for most people. You eat chocolate most days, right? If I said to you, right, first task, I want you to cut chocolate out, right? That to you might sound like, oh, okay, I reckon I can do that, right? You'll trick yourself. That's another thing, folks, right? We're very good as humans at lying to ourselves. We're amazing at doing that. I do it all the time, lie to myself about certain things which are unrealistic. You know, like I'm gonna get this done today. Most days I set myself tasks, right, and I get probably half of them done. Okay, that's just an example. But going back to the chocolate, right? You're eating chocolate every day, and I say to you, okay, cut chocolate out. Good luck with that, right? You'd be lucky to last a week or two, or maybe let's just say at most. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. Unless even if you're like Andrew was saying then, even if you're at a higher level, you're a fitness model, you're a physique competitor, right? And you're like, oh, I've been eating so much chocolate. Help me now. I want to get back on track. Okay, cut that out. Might last about 4 weeks. So, for example, while I'll even scale that back. Rather than before, Andrew and I would be like, right, okay, here's a diet plan, which straight away you're setting them up for failure, right? You're giving someone's going from most of the time, even people who think they're eating healthy, they're not, right? So they're eating not the best, and then you're like, right, here's this diet plan, right? That's work for us as bodybuilders because that's where we were at before. That's all we knew really was like, okay, I can get shredded, so I'll eat, you know, let's just say I'll eat meat and vegetables most meals, and I'll have a cheat meal once a week, which again is a disaster, right? So yeah, no, definitely. And where did that get us? And where did that get us? You know, we've told the listeners. Mm, For sure. Exactly. Much more issues. Much more issues. And I'm glad you. Just come back to me then. Just had a little alarm bell ring then because I had this client and I. This is when I was competing actually, and I got her in amazing shape, right? So she went from being extremely overweight and actually really unhealthy to the. I mean, the transformation was insane. Probably the best transformation I've had physically. If you were to look at the before and after shot, I could easily, like, I think it's on my old website actually. I could put it on our new website coming now, and for example, right, and just lie to everyone because do you know what? She's put a lot of that weight back on. To be fair, she hasn't put it all back on, right? But she was not in a good, like, mentally, like, I'm not going to go into it. Luckily none of the listeners know who she was. Mentally she wasn't in a good place when I started training her. And I lost, let's just say she lost, all in all, it was an insane amount. It was something like maybe 30, 40 kilos. Transformation was insane, but I didn't change anything fundamental with her behaviors and her life, essentially. Yes, I got her in shape, I got her to look better. And I got her from, like we were saying earlier, she went from one extreme to another. So she was eating terrible. And then I said, right, follow this diet plan. And she was training with me like 5 times a week. Anyway, long story short, then she put pretty much all the weight, well, not all of it. She put a solid kind of like 20 kilos back on, and then she was battling to get it off again. She stopped training with me. I used to see her every now and then, and then her only way she knew then was what I taught her was to train every day. Right, this is the only way. The thing is, folks, when you lose a significant amount of weight, if you're not doing it the right way, you're doing it the fast way, like I done with her. The only way you know then to lose weight is to go balls to wall every day in the gym and eat, let's just say chicken and broccoli most meals. She was literally doing that. She was eating like a bodybuilder and actually training like a bodybuilder. That's not sustainable. And I failed her. As I said earlier, I failed a lot of people from that approach. So, making those small changes, for example, I don't know, give me an example, and of like something simple you'll tell a client to do, a new client, if they've got certain behaviors which are not serving them very well. Boom. And what results will they get if they do that for a solid month or two? And mm, definitely, let's just say that client and stuck to that for, let's say, 2 or 3 weeks, right? Give me another habit you could change, rather other than increasing the steps again. Give me another habit you could change with her. Boom. And then she could stick to having an extra glass or two of waters a day, and sustain that for another few weeks. And then she'll start noticing, and then even within that time, and she will start noticing the intrinsic changes, right? Like, oh, I've got more energy. When I wake up in the morning, I don't feel lethargic. I'm waking up and I feel, and they start connecting the dots. And then the next step, like most people I find undereat fiber. Okay, so a little mind pump media trick. They I heard this on one of their podcasts, and they were like, they'll tell them to have an extra cup of berries a day. Now, I always used to like, okay, eat more vegetables. The thing is, a lot of people struggle to eat vegetables. So simple, have an extra cup of berries a day. Like in 100 grams of berries, you're going to get about 4 grams of fiber, but the right types of fiber. So if you do that every day, not to mention all the antioxidants and the polyphenols and all that kind of stuff you get in berries and low sugar and whatnot. So to increase your fiber, how about you have an extra cup of berries a day? You know what I mean? Like, and be consistent with that. And again, what you'll start noticing then is, what, maybe your digestion improves because fiber is really good for the gut. Again, your energy improves. You start getting more sustained energy and less dips because you're getting that kind of slow release of nutrients and all those subtle changes. And then I'll say, okay, we need to bump that fiber up a little bit more and increase your veg. So how about you have a handful of spinach a day? You know what I mean? All these changes, Hans. Fistful of protein. That's a good one, that. And then something. Yep. Hmm. Exactly. And by a fistful of protein, you mean like it could be like some lean steak, some chicken, or some fish. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. And that's another thing. Whilst we're on that topic, is the fats as well. I find a lot of people undereat the right kinds of fats. So as Andrew mentioned, then animal fats that you get in red meat. You get lots of healthy fats in red meat, but fish. You know, we all know omega 3s really, really good. And also fats help to synthesize protein. So just by adding that extra handful of protein, whether that's fish or red meat or, you know, chicken thighs as well. I've noticed you eat chicken thighs, don't you, instead of breast and, yeah? Normally? Same. I started doing that. Exactly. Exactly. Gross. Mate, turkey. It just come back to me then. Turkey. Oh, God, I used to eat that leading up to shows. Mm. Yeah. Definitely, mate. Move your hands from the camera, bro. Sorry, man. Yeah, that's all right. No worries. Yeah. Just to sum that up, then, really, I mean, we always sometimes talk about similar things, but obviously we do take different directions, and you know, we gave you some insight then on fiber and stuff like that. So you know, it's always slightly different to what we talked about, you know, on previous episodes, but it always comes back round to those fundamental things. And you know, we're determined to get into your head and change the way you think. You know, the podcasts are slowly growing, which is good. So, you know, if you keep listening, you know, you're going to start, and I'm sure I've already heard a lot of you are making these changes already. So, you know, consistency is key. And I just wanted to talk real quickly about patience as well, because, you know, being consistent is, as we said before, the person who's training once or twice a week and they're going to the gym and they're really focusing on lifting weights properly and just focusing on technique and doing it right is going to get much better results long term than the person who's going balls to wall in the gym every day and lasting for a month and then falling off and then going back and then falling off. You know, the person who is consistent a few times a week is going to get by far superior results to the person who's on the on or off wagon, right? So always bear that in mind. And patience, okay? So it sounds a bit like a bit grim when you say patience, right? But all it is just trusting the process and enjoying it, and like just be thankful. As Andrew said earlier, you know, you're doing it because you want to take care of yourself, right? You're going to the gym. If you're listening to this podcast, the chances are you're doing it for the right reasons now. You're doing it because you're taking care of yourself and you love your body, not because I hate this part of my body and I want to change it fast, because that's not the right way. That's the fast way, and most of the time that ends in tears. Absolutely, definitely. Exactly. For sure. Absolutely, absolutely. You might, and just come back to me then. I might play this real quick for the listeners before we finish up. Did you see one of Ben Kuma's posts with Jordan, Katie Price? So this is the kind of thing. This is the kind of thing. It's like there's like a there's women with she's got like 2 million followers, right? And she's talking about she's just come back off holiday and she's got this bloody product, right? It's called the Boombod, and you take it for a week and you lose. Oh yeah, I want to. You're going to lose weight for a week. And there's girls commenting 11 and 12. This is where we're at now with social media. There's these influencers. This is what the battle we're fighting, and right? It's like these people, like you said, eating the celery diet and doing these Herbalife, whatever it is. Listen to this for 2 seconds, right? I'll try and play it now to the listeners.
Here I am again, back on a Boombod. I went to Spain last week and I ate so much, so I just want a little bit of weight loss again. So I'm going to start this, and what you get with your Boombod is your sachets of morning, afternoon and evening, and it's so easy. All you do is get a glass of water like this.
And it's just straight sugar as well, just to top it off.
I'm going to do the morning one because I haven't had breakfast yet. Pour the sachet in like that.
Anyway, you get the gist, right? So she's got this bloody Boombod sachets, full of sugar or whatever, and she's saying, right, okay, if you want to lose weight and you want to look better, playing into the insecurities, like you said, Anne, and not just to the average person, like you've got young kids. Like this is the kind of battle we're facing, Anne, but that's what we're here for, Anne, isn't it? Exactly, and yeah, we are definitely. I've done that to people in the past. Like I said, Andrew. Don't think Andrew and I haven't done that to people. Like not purposely. We've said right, follow this diet plan, and they can't sustain it. And you know what? They put all the weight back on. The thing is, if you lose a significant, like I've said before, 6 out of 7 people have lost a significant amount of weight and gained it all back and more. And what happens when you gain it all back is you feel terrible about yourself mentally. You feel so shitty about yourself because you've got these results. You've seen what you can look like as well, and straight away you've attached it to how you look at the start anyway, which is kind of on the back foot really because you've disregarded health. And then you look, you've lost X amount of body fat, and you've put it all back on, and you're back to square one again. And as Andrew said, you haven't learned anything from the process. You haven't changed any fundamental behaviors like drinking more water or moving more. And you've got these young kids doing this, So anyway, I just wanted to share that with the listeners that it's not about the quick fix. It's just avoid any short-term fitness campaigns at all costs, really. Definitely, it's great. Spot on. Anyway, I might even call the podcast episode that. That was spot on. Exactly. That's bang on. And that's so true, isn't it? And that's with anything. It's with anything in life, and like the mind kind of functions in that way regardless. So if you look at people who are successful business wise, do you think they played the short game? No, they've grinded for decades in the quiet when no one's looking, and they're not on Instagram bragging about it. And then you see them then living the life and and preaching about what they've done and stuff, and people think, oh, I want a piece of that, but most people are not willing to put the work in and put the hours in to get there. And it's exactly the same with health and fitness, really. But it doesn't have to be. Another thing is what you see is it's a grind. You see these fitness models making it look so hard and miserable, like it's a grind, and it's like no days off, and it shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be a chore, and it shouldn't be something that you have to do to look or feel a certain way. It just needs to be these small changes, like these very simple changes. And we're not saying it's easy. It's not easy, but it is simple. It's very simple when you do these things. Definitely. 100%. Let's cap it off there. So we did say we were going to do half-hour max, and we've done 43 minutes again, so we've gone over. But we come into our flow end, don't we? Towards the end, that's the problem. Yeah, I'll just cut off the first 20 minutes in future, and then spot on. Yeah, thanks for listening, guys, and nice one, Anne, for jumping in again, mate. Speak soon.